You know, I have to give Ridley Scott and the filmmakers of this movie a lot of credit because when I saw the first trailer, I thought that the makeup on Kevin Spacey looked like crap. But now that I've seen the complete film, I have to say that they did a really good job. But I'm just curious, if they were just going to make him look like Christopher Plummer, why didn't they just get Christopher Plummer? Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about Ridley Scott's new movie, All the Money in the World. In 1973, the grandson of the richest man in the world, J. Paul Getty, has been kidnapped. The kidnappers want millions of dollars for his release, but his mother, who is only a Getty by marriage, has no money to give. She goes to her former father-in-law for help, but he shows how cold he can be by refusing to help pay the ransom. Now, before I review this movie, I have to address the elephant in the room. This movie made a lot of headlines after the accusations about Kevin Spacey's possible sexual misconduct came out and he was dropped from the film entirely. Rather than take their time in recasting and reshooting the movie, the filmmakers went full speed ahead by recasting Spacey, doing reshoots and digital cover-ups so that the movie could still be released on its Christmas Day release date. Christopher Plummer, who was Ridley Scott's first pick to play J. Paul Getty, was cast in the place of Spacey. According to an NPR article, the movie had a $40 million budget, but the producers of the film were willing to give Ridley Scott another $10 million so he could save the movie. On November 20th, he brought back the cast and crew and shot 22 scenes in just 9 days. 4 days after that, they had a rough cut of the movie ready. I have to say that for the most part, they covered up the replacement of Spacey pretty well. I mean, if you are really looking, you can tell which scenes are cover-ups of Spacey, which are complete reshoots, and so on. All in all, I thought they did a pretty great job at making it look like this was the movie they had intended to shoot in the first place. I think part of the reason this change worked is the strength of Christopher Plummer as an actor. Look, as an actor, I think Kevin Spacey is pretty great, but what I had seen of him in the original trailer for this movie, honestly, I thought it looked like crap. The old man makeup they had on him looked pretty lousy. There are scenes in this movie that show Getty as a young man, so I imagine those scenes would have been Spacey without the makeup. Now, would he have been able to put on a great performance from behind that makeup? I guess we'll never know. Now, do I really care? Not really, because between what I saw of Spacey's performance in the trailer versus the full-on performance from Christopher Plummer in the final movie, it wasn't even close. I think Ridley Scott's first instincts to get Plummer on board were the right ones. For a second, think about this. Christopher Plummer, unprepared and unresearched, pulled off the role of Getty and did a phenomenal job. I've always thought that he is one of the greats, and to be able to do what he did only strengthens that argument. In the same NPR article mentioned earlier, Plummer said this about his time on set. Prepare is a funny word. I don't usually prepare. I leave it up to instinct and imagination. I had no time to research it or anything. Right bang, right straight in. There were scenes where one minute you kind of understood where he was coming from when he said he couldn't help. Despite him being Scrooge McDuck rich, you still kind of wanted to sympathize with him, but then he would turn right around and buy $1 million painting, and you would do a 180 and be angry at him again. Plummer was able to pull off complicated feats like that the entire movie. Now, while the making of this movie was pretty interesting, how was the movie itself? Well, I kind of enjoyed this movie for what it was and thought some of the performances, especially from Christopher Plummer and Michelle Williams, were pretty good. It didn't really offer anything that I found too special. The story as a whole felt a little too by the numbers for me. If I thought something was going to happen, I wasn't too surprised when it did. After researching the real story behind the kidnapping, I felt there might have been a more interesting story to be told had they stuck to what really happened, instead of adding what they did to the tale. I think I might have been a bit more interested in the story of the real-life J. Paul Getty had they made him even more colder than the movie makes him out to be. While I like that the movie does touch on Gail Getty's strength and resolve as a mother and being ignored because in the 70s it's a man's world, so to speak, I felt that the true struggle that she went through might have been a bit more interesting to watch than the somewhat cliche one that the movie portrays. I also felt that the character Fletcher Chase, played by Mark Wahlberg, seemed to be a bit more interesting in real life than the stoic and high-moraled former spy that we got. Chase, or at least the person the character is based on, was not the level-headed and methodical person that Wahlberg gives us. If you are interested in the true story of the Getty kidnappings, I'll put a link to the Vanity Fair article where I found my information from in the description below. While I feel that the story did brush aside facts for cliche, I also thought that the look and feel of the movie worked very well. The music, sets, clothes, and everything else in this movie did a very good job at transporting you to this other world. The strange thing is, anytime there was a scene set in anything of J. Paul Getty's, like his house for example, it would feel like that was another world altogether. This is a point the movie keeps trying to make about the Getty's world being different than everybody else's. While I did enjoy this movie for what it was, especially for the performance of Christopher Plummer, I can't say that I would really want to recommend it to everybody. While I give the filmmakers all the credit in the world for pulling off this movie having to change it in the short amount of time that they did, I still feel like even the original would have been pretty much the same movie. Instead of Kevin Spacey in terrible old man makeup and a cliche kidnapping tale, we got a very good performance from Christopher Plummer in a cliche kidnapping tale. While it's not a terrible movie or anything, I can't find it to be all that special either. As always, thank you so much for watching. What did you think of All the Money in the World? Feel free to comment out down in the section below. Until next time, I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino.